You know what? How do you say about this person? It's just a general because sometimes, okay, Sister Nikki, I forgive the person, but I put my boundaries because some people, they don't like that, you know? When you say, okay, you have done me this and this and that,
Yes.
after that, I say, okay, I forgive, I let go what you have done, but I put a little bit of my boundaries, you know? I put my limits because...
Yes.
And then some of the people will come because when you put those limits, because I don't want to be hurt again. That the things, I don't want to be hurt again.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we forgive people who don't even understand what is forgiveness is. You know, they're not Christian, they don't even understand what forgiveness is. And then you end up by forgiving the person. We go in the church, maybe this abuser abuse a person,
Yes.
but the church say you need to forgive. And then you end up by forgiving. Maybe that a person live with the person, and then you put your boundaries, your limit. You say, also I forgive the person, but this, you mustn't cross this, you mustn't cross this. Is it still forgiveness? We can say it
I
that
do
way.
believe.
Yeah.
I do believe it is still forgiveness. I believe that God gives us wisdom,
Yes,
and I believe we can be led by His Spirit
yes,
to avoid. The reality is you cannot make choices for other people,
that's true, that's true.
and God knows their hearts. But I don't think that God wants us to become like somebody that others just walk over.
Yes,
And as you said, if you need to sometimes, and we're talking about severe cases, you know, that you get people that are toxic, you get people that are very negative, you get people that are constantly choosing to be bitter and resentful and anger, and you have to put boundaries, as you say, around that. You have to protect your heart. So it does not mean that if you have forgiven someone, that you necessarily need to have tea with them every week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the most important thing for me about forgiveness is you pray about those relationships. And perhaps God will give you the grace to forgive that person, but that doesn't mean that God expects you to remain in that person's life for a season of time, but you have to be led by God's Spirit in that regard. As God, at the end of the day, looks at our hearts. That is what He looks at. And then sometimes it's good to remove you from a situation and pray for the people. So, very important point that you are making, because there might be someone out there that's saying, but that person abuses me. Must I now stay in a situation like that?
I've seen people, like you said, now the person is doing wrong to the person, and then you say, okay, I forgive you. You just go to the person and say, you know what, for what you did to me, I did what? I'm letting it go, so then it's finished, And then the other person, the one who approached the person, the next day he come. And then as he come, it's like bringing the other one again down in the same scenario. And then when the other one want to speak or to say something, and then he say, but you say that you forgive me, but now look at what you react, and which made people weak. And then thinking like, maybe if I react, maybe if I put my limit, maybe if I put my boundaries, it doesn't show forgiveness. And then the person found himself every time going in bitter and bitter in circle. There's no way out.
Yes. Now, God says forgive and pray, but I don't think He would allow us to be in situations where our lives can become in danger and where we are constantly broken down emotionally and physically. One has got to be very careful and ask the Lord to lead you, and not to, because the enemy can use that situation, and he can be the one accusing you. But shouldn't you be forgiving that person? You know, and then you're not walking by faith. You're walking in fear of God's rejection, possibly. So where does that come from? Where does it come from? Be led by God's Spirit. Be led by His peace. And if you feel God says withdraw, then you withdraw, but you keep your heart pure and clean.
Yes. We need to keep also our heart pure. We need to keep our heart because
Yes.
God loves us. As He wants us to forgive, it's all for us.
Yes.
It's beneficial for us to
Yes.
forgive because He wants our heart to be pure. He wants our heart to be clean. He wants our heart not to be burdened because He knows that if we don't forgive, it should be like a heavy burden to our life. So that's what is so great, and I like the way God put it. Really, we need to forgive.
So for this, I just want to say that to remind us of the action of choosing love, forgiveness,
Yeah.
and empathy will break a cycle of hatred, and it will soften your heart,
Yes, yes.
and it will allow God's grace to work in you. You're talking about difficult situations.
Yes, yes.
And that was a description I read that really spoke to me, because not only when we choose to forgive, not only is it beneficial to the person you forgive, but it's especially beneficial to you.
Yeah.
Because God is able to soften your heart. God is able to bring healing to your heart, because these things bring damage and bruises in our soul, man.
Yeah.
So it's so important to make that choice.